we're taking a new high. On Diaspora Vybez, we will walk international grounds with you and for you, bring success stories from around the globe, break down international ties and businesses, talk matters, opportunities, and everything that involves living in the diaspora and coming back home. Thank you very much for joining us on this inaugural segment. Now, on today's show, we have a lot in store for you. We have stories on the coronavirus as well as Kenya-USA trade ties. Let's now jump into the first story that we have lined up for you today. With over 1,700 people dead from the coronavirus, it now stands as the deadliest health risk in current times. According to Kenya's ambassador to China, Sarah Serem, over 100 Kenyan students are stuck with China and are at risk of contracting the virus. Here is the voice of Eileen Nelima, a Kenyan student in China, giving us insights on what it is like to be away from home and caught up in a health crisis.
When this started, it was during Chinese New Year, just like Christmas for us. A lot of Chinese are traveling at this point to go to their hometowns or to go abroad or something, or just to celebrate with their families. So schools were closed, and that means there are no Chinese students, even in the universities. Everyone has gone home to celebrate with their families. So this was, I think, worked to the advantage of the schools because they can now manage the small number of international students who are left behind in school. And so they distributed masks, and also temperatures were being taken every time you leave school and come back. Your temperature would be taken because fever is one of the symptoms that you have when you get the coronavirus. So if your temperature is above 37.3 degrees Celsius, then they will observe you and see if you're infected with coronavirus, and you will also be quarantined in your room. So after some time, they had to take more precautionary measures, and no one was allowed to just leave their houses or homes at their own will. So now I'm sure the question is, how are you getting supplies if you're not allowed to leave you and come back at your own will? So for residential areas, only one person per household is allowed to live in every 2 days to go and get supplies. And for schools, there are makeshift grocery stores, and the school supermarket and the school clinics are open. As of yesterday, there was a total of 73,000 cases reported. And in my opinion, I think if the government could evacuate, especially the people in Wuhan, it would be the best option for them and even for us, because if you decide to leave China at your own will at this point, you do not know who you're going to meet on your way, and you do not know who is infected. Even though there are more measures, there are more things that have been put in place to know who was where and who had the infection at one point or the other, and so they can separate you from the rest of the people, but you still stand the risk of being infected while in transition. So if the government would evacuate people, it would be the best option, especially for those in Wuhan.
Now, hundreds, if not millions, of Kenyans fly out of the country in search of better employment opportunities in various countries. A popular destination is Lebanon in the Middle East, where many Kenyan girls find themselves working as maids. A video recently surfaced online of girls such as these crying out for help, and they bring us to our discussion tonight. Are employment opportunities abroad greener, or there is more than meets the eye? But first, before we dive into that discussion for today, let's have a look at this. That video sets the pace for today's interview with our guest. As you've seen, that's a video of Kenyan ladies who are outside there crying out for help. It is really a serious situation outside there, and if help can be received and gotten to them, it would be a good thing. Thank you for joining us, Radio Samson Munya.
Thank you.
As you've watched that video, just to start us off, how do you feel when you watch such a video?
I want to say I feel disappointed.
Yeah.
Because there are people outside here who are very determined in terms of spoiling what is the good job that the government has tried to do in terms of creating opportunity for young people. So one, that video is not recent.
Yeah.
That video is, I can be able to 100% in terms of confirm because it's not current.
Yeah.
It's for 2012 before the government closed the market for the South.
But this is the situation that goes on, right?
That was the situation then in terms of the market was not regulated.
Yeah.
But for now, what is happening when the government opened the market last year in the Gulf, especially in the Saudi, the market is controlled.
Okay.
So there are people in terms of who are very malicious, and especially some of the media houses who are trying to spoil what the good job that the government has been able to do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, just as we try and now get deep into the conversation, is if you check the statistics that are going on around, is that most people are going for these jobs in the Middle East.
Yes.
And despite seeing the videos that are outside there, the videos showing different people having issues in the Middle East. Yes. Middle East countries are still the biggest target market for these people who are going to look for jobs. Why is this so? Why not other countries outside there?
One, because there is ready jobs for the young people, especially in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So one, let me take you back a little bit. Sometimes back in 2012, the government closed the Middle East in terms of because our young people were being harassed and some of them were being mistreated. But the government coming to last year in terms of 2019 created a very good in terms of agreement with the Middle East, where there is a system.
Yeah.
Every worker going outside is being monitored by the Commission in terms of National Employment Authority. Because there is a system, everybody is being monitored where you're going to work, who is your employer before you even go outside.
Yeah.
That's why even now, a lot of young people in terms of housekeepers, we don't call them housemaids, housekeepers, because they're being trained here in terms of pre-training what they're going to be doing in the Middle East.
Okay.
That's why despite people showing, having malicious in terms of showing the videos, still young people are very much interested in terms of going out.
Now, many people put this blame on these recruiting agencies, and they say that the recruiting agencies come at the first instance offering them heaven, and some of them complain that these agencies, once they've gotten to their destinations, they forget about them. As somebody who's been handling this type of situations and actually experienced this on a first-hand basis, is this true? Do you guys, the recruiting agencies, do you give the appropriate information on the word go, or you could say there are other people, it might not be you, but there are other people who actually don't give full information just for the purposes of making money?
I want to bring it on two faces. One, I'm an recruitment agency with Ecomedia Technology agency.
Yeah.
So one, I want to say no, we don't promise them heaven. We just tell them point blank in terms of what they're going to do. Because before they even do that, they're going to have a 2 weeks training here in the country.
Okay.
But there are people who don't have agencies. They're not accredited by the Ministry of NEA in terms of Ministry of Labor and National Employment Authority. So those are the people who are lying because maybe they want to make money. Yeah. So I want to say in terms of we equip them with the proper information in terms of what they're going to be doing. They're being trained and how much they're going to be earning. Because even the government negotiated the salary. Sometimes back in 2012, they were not even being paid well. Some of them were even being paid 10,000. But currently, nobody is being paid less than 25,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one would argue, because your recruiting agency means you charge the responsibility of getting employment for these people, right? Both
factual. Currently in the country, when every politician is going on the podium, every forum, they're talking about youth unemployment.
Yes.
But the action in terms of them creating employment is nowhere. So currently in Kenya, if we can be able to go back in terms of government, there are only 2% of employment in terms of they can only offer 2% of employment. The others depends on private sector. So currently, private sector is trying to create a very enabling environment in terms of creating opportunities in terms of abroad.
Yes.
So currently, outside in terms of abroad is where opportunities are. Sometimes back you saw the government in terms of introduce the Ajira Digital, where people are working online currently in Kenya and even someone outside. So young people don't have employment, so where do they go?
So it's certainly why the government not encourage them to work here? Is that like, would you argue that there's no opportunity for them?
No, I can't say totally, but the opportunities are very limited. We sometimes see graduates complaining they are on the road show having placards. I'm a graduate with a degree, first degree in this career. They don't have opportunities. What of people who dropped out of class 8? People who never even saw universities, people who never even went to tertiary institutions. Where are their spaces?
Fair enough. Now you see, people out there, they argue that this recruiting agencies, for lack of a better word, eat, or you kind of like thrive on these people that don't necessarily get desperate Kenyans, for lack of a better word, like these agencies. It is true. What's your thought of this?
Currently, I would say no.
All of them? For all of them?
Yeah, in terms of those accredited by the National Employment Authority,
no. Is accreditation?
Yes, accreditation, because currently, before you get a license for you to be able to become accredited and a recruiter, you have to be accredited by the ministry. So if you're not accredited, and there's a code of conduct in terms of accredited agencies they're following, so you cannot be able to breach it. Because if you do, there are people who are, in terms of watching, I can be able to say, watchdog for the government. If you breach, you become unaccredited. So you can't be able to
is this the accreditation information, is this information in the public domain?
One, yes. If you go to the Ministry of the National Employment Authority and search, you are going to see all the accredited agency together with the numbers of their directors. So nobody can be able to cheat. But some few weeks ago, you saw a scenario where people were dumped in Dubai. They were conned in terms of there is opportunity, they paid, they were taken to Dubai, no jobs. So one, I'd like maybe to tell the common man in terms of people who are looking for greener pastures in terms of abroad. One, verify, is the person who is taking me accredited? Two, visit their office.
Fine, I need you to hold this thought because it's actually coming into the next question that I was just about to ask you. Say I've just approached you. You definitely run a recruiting agency. Say I'm somebody from the countryside and probably just finished my studies at the fourth form level and I want to, I've had this opportunity, I want to go. You know, part of this discussion is to provide solutions and the right direction. I've approached you like, hey, Mundia, I want to do this and this. Tell me the procedures of step A to step Z of getting there.
One, I'll tell you the opportunities that are there. Then two, I'll ask you, what are you qualified in? What position are you looking in? So you have to answer that because I cannot be able to offer you a job and you are not even qualified to it. So I'll tell you from my side, I'll tell you what opportunities we have and what are the criteria and qualification we are looking for. I can't recruit you for a driver's position and you're not a driver because a driving license is a qualification. So these are two-way traffic in terms of I have to tell you what I have. Then you have to tell me what are you qualified in so that you can be able to start from there. If you tell me you're qualified as a chef, I'll tell you these are the positions I have for chefs in the Middle East. These are the requirements or the criteria they are looking for. Are you qualified for it?
Okay, fair enough. So at this point, let's take a short break and still more to come. Still ahead, we'll make sense of the US-Kenya bilateral talks.
So I got this request to give a shout out to our Kenyans viewers from the diaspora. So my name is Valerie, and I just want to give a shout out to the people, my relatives, friends, my siblings, my brother Jason. It's the cold end of February here, and I'm all the way here down from Canada. I'll show you outside. It's very cold. It's still very icy. Winter is still high and about here, but in a few weeks we should have the snow settle. So I know I just came back from Kenya, still getting used to the cold. As you can tell, my hair is still nicely braided, Kenyan style. So just want to give a shout out to the people down there and saying and wishing that I was back there with you guys in a much warmer place rather than this cold place. Aside from all that, Canada is a very good country, and Kenya is a very good country as well. So, love you guys, and that's it.
Exciting world of Mtron Solutions, your trusted provider for bulk SMSs. We also offer API integrations for all your communication and payment needs. We also provide you with tailor-made payment getaway solution to receive Xbox cash quickly, affordable, and securely. Let us expand your reach and connectivity on USSD, SMS, voice today. Call us on 0723 030 or email hello@mtron.limited.co.ke. For more details, visit our website www.mtronlimited.co.ke.
Kwa mara ya kwanza mboni ya TV47 inaingia kaunti ya Uasin Gishu. Je, kuna nini?
Natumia kupita kiwango na ya mkia asubuhi, lakini kila mtu ako na sababu zake tofauti tofauti. Pombe inanisaidia kwa mawazo. Jambo la kwanza, yule wa kulaumiwa ni shetani.
Vidole vinaonekana huko ni mahindi tu, hakuna. Lakini hapa ndio penyewe mahali ambapo pombe zinashukia, hata inakuja kwa wingi.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you for staying with us right here on Diaspora Vybez. Now, recently, President Uhuru Kenyatta and US President Donald Trump held a bilateral meeting. They announced that they plan to enter into a trade agreement, despite the fact that none of the details to this agreement have been provided yet. Harris Grant, the former senior director for African Affairs in the White House under President Obama, says set a new precedent on how the U.S. strikes trade deals with African countries?
The U.S. has said for several years that it was hoping to move to a more bilateral arrangement with sub-Saharan African states. What exists right now is called the African Growth and Opportunity Act, and that is a unilateral set of preferences that African countries can use to access the U.S. market. But it's not a two-way regime, meaning that it's not about free trade, it's about giving access to African states. And the United States has watched as the European Union, as China, and as others have been inking deals across the continent and establishing more bilateral trade benefits. And they've seen also that U.S. companies can be disadvantaged by them as well, including in countries like South Africa, where European companies would have a better deal and better access to the South African market.
Okay.
And it seemed then from the U.S. perspective, I believe I don't work for the White House anymore, but I think from the U.S. perspective, Kenya is a very natural partner to explore a free trade agreement like this. And as you said, it would be the first free trade agreement with a sub-Saharan African country. Yeah. Right now, the U.S. only has a free trade agreement with Morocco.
Okay. Now, if we look at the African Growth Opportunity Act, that is set to come to an end in the year 2025, and the United States has been advising African countries to start looking for other initiatives. Now, this definitely means that the African countries that have been benefiting from the program are going to suffer. What's the ripple effect in the event that the act is not renewed?
I think the ripple effects will be pretty big, especially for some countries that have developed export strategies that have been factoring in the African Growth and Opportunity Act benefits. And that is responsible for over 1 million jobs on the continent. I think indirectly and directly. I think a key question will be, is the United States going to renew this? 2025 is coming up relatively quickly, meaning that in terms of trade discussions, that's the blink of an eye. Time will go very fast. Previous U.S. presidents have supported renewal and sought to do so. A big question between now and 2025 is going to be, is there another path for more bilateral trade? This free trade agreement with Kenya could prove a model that could be used with other African states. That's certainly how the Trump administration is describing its benefit. But I think there are a lot of unanswered questions, and we'll also have to see what the U.S. is feeling as 2025 gets closer and whether it wants to continue AGOA in some way, shape, or form, renew it wholly, or really pivot entirely to free trade agreements.
Okay. Now that Kenya is going alone, they're actually taking steps to, it looks like they're taking steps to go alone in terms of trade talks and negotiating trade deals with the United States. Does this look or seem like a betrayal to the East African Community Customs Protocol, so to say?
I think it's a critical point to factor in the regional integration efforts, not just of the East African community, but of course of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And there's been some discussion about that in the media in particular and among key parties since the announcement of this intent to negotiate a free trade agreement. Some of the commentators have noted there are ways to do this in terms of creating an agreement that supports intra-regional integration. You could do so by allowing for the potential accumulation of inputs, and you could look at compliance with rules of origins, and you could be including provisions like this, and some scholars like Annabelle Gonzalez of the Peterson Institute for International Economics have floated specific ways that that could happen. I think that this remains a very big unanswered question, because to say that you're going to negotiate a free trade agreement can mean a lot of different things in terms of how expansive it can be, what all is going to be included, the duration of it, the dispute settlement, if there is any. All of these questions are unanswered. And I think a big question that will need to be answered is how to support intra-regional integration as you pursue a free trade agreement and show that this can be a new model.
Now, where would such a move place the African Trade Agreement? Because one of the policies under the African Trade is that you have to negotiate the deals as a bloc. Where does this leave the African Trade deal if such a deal is supposed to go through?
Mm-hmm. The United States, the Trump administration has said that it supports the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. I think, again, the question is going to be, do they pursue a free trade agreement with Kenya in a way that can support regional integration and that allows potentially for other countries to accede to such an agreement, or that would factor in the tariff structure and the different modalities that the East African community and that more broadly the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are moving toward. So we don't know enough yet about the intent of what will be included in the free trade agreement. I personally hope that it'll be incredibly conscious of and sensitive to this very important need to support regional integration efforts.
Very candid conversation that we had with Mr. Grant Harris over there. Now, as you've just seen, it's only my first episode of Diaspora Vybez, and already have people from the States speaking to me matters pardon me, pertaining to issues to do with trade and dealers. So interact with us on our social media platforms at T47KE, or you might as well send me a direct tweet at Komowino with the hashtag Diaspora Vybez. Let's move on to the next story. Still on our discussion as to whether employment opportunities abroad offer a solid ground, our Rwandan correspondent Isabel Masozera caught up with a South African national whose name in the culinary arts is big in Rwanda. Take a look.
Earlier today, I attended a very special event that paired wine and food, and I could not help but be inspired by this one chef. And I just had to get him to sit here and talk to you guys, and I hope that you'll be just as inspired as I was. Chef Andile, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Chef Andile Somdaka. That's my surname. I'm coming from South Africa, Cape Town to be precise. And I grew up in a family where I used to cook as a young boy with my sisters, older sisters. I'm the last one at home. And I found myself in the hotel.
You used to cook. In the African setting, it's usually the girls that are doing the cooking.
Yes.
I'm surprised they would even let you get in there.
We used to actually make tents with my sister, my older sister. Today's meal will be cooked by my sisters, and then the next day it will be my turn. Obviously, under the mentorship of my parents and my sisters, also because I was the youngest. So the cooking was actually mentored and embedded in me from home. And I found myself in the hotel at some stage as a training chef there.
Did you study cooking at any point?
I never went to formal school for cooking. The hotel actually took me in and they trained me, and I was a training chef at the Mykonos Hotel in Nangaban. So the actual cooking, training and everything was actually done inside the hotel. On the job. I was never exposed to any hotel school training. So I'm trying to say to you that there are kids out there who have never been, who cannot afford the formal education, the formal education in the schools. That doesn't mean that they can never find themselves as top chefs with their own country. So at the age of 24, I became extremely lucky that when I was invited to attend an interview in Cape Town, where I used to live, in Parliament, to become a personal chef to Nelson Mandela. Luckily, I worked under very good top chefs in the country, in South Africa. I worked under Ralph Trubel, Case Apple, and Bill Stafford, and Bill Gallagher also in Cape, the Western Cape. So I learned a lot of skills from them. And then I never had people who mentored me, that I look up to, and I actually found my mentors as I was going. And obviously with the training that took place in the hotel, I did the in-house training at the hotel in Mykonos. And I was lucky. Then I was appointed to be, I was actually invited to attend the interview. And then they were actually looking without telling me.
You didn't know what you were interviewing for?
Yes, I only knew that I was interviewed for a chef post at the office of the president. I didn't know who was I going to be cooking for. And in fact, I was later told that actually they were looking for someone who has a background exactly that fitted my profile. Madiba has been in prison for the full 27 years.
Yes.
He's never been exposed to the food that he grew up eating. And I had that background from home. And
because
my parents,
of the early days, cooking with your sisters, you had the experience to cook local food that he needed.
So that alone, that experience that I had, made me to understand how important the food that you were brought up eating.
Did that in any way influence your decision to specialize in South African local food?
Oh yes. Right now, I'm running and owning a restaurant in Midrand. It's in Kona Liver in Oliphant Road. The restaurant is called Ezico Restaurant.
Yes.
It's doing extremely well. We're selling South African cuisine, typical South African cuisine, where people who are coming from the rural area, when they are working in the big city, they want to now and then remember their background. So my place serves that element and make sure that those type of people are actually having a home away from home. So my restaurant is serving typical South African food. So it was easy for us to be in Rwanda today to come and cook with the Rwandese chefs.
Yes.
Because we are taking fruits of experience from South Africa with collaborating with the Rwandan chefs.
Yes.
So that's why it's very easy for us to do that.
Chef, how did that experience, because you didn't only serve one president, you served two. That is amazing. First of all, congratulations. I think you are an inspiration to a lot of chefs out there, but I want to know how that experience defined the chef that you are today.
I was actually so humbled that as I was serving the president office, the deputy president of the country and the then deputy president Thabo Mbeki was actually very, very, very busy. So it was doing most of the back of the job that Matiba was supposed to be doing. But then Matiba became president of the country when he was at least was very old. So the office of the deputy president was then doing most of the job. So the hosting of the delegates all over from all walks of life. I met the guys, the likes of Tony Blair, when I didn't know who they
were.
Yeah, so Bill Clinton and the Queen, we hosted them at the office of the deputy president and the president's office. So I was quite privileged and humbled by the experience. So I'm trying to say to you, the reason why I'm saying that is whether you have had a formal education or not, you can be anything in life that you want to be, provided that you are good in anything that you're doing.
Yes. Where do you draw your greatest inspiration in your work?
From my colleagues. I've got wonderful colleagues that I work with. I work people that I don't even know, that I've never even met. Right now here in Rwanda, I'm with the chef Tabai. He's with me. We go all over the world together. We were in Ukraine last year. We were in Europe. We were in Turkey. We were in Belgium. We were in Amsterdam. We were in also Copenhagen, where we fed ambassadors of Europe. So we collaborate with a lot of other chefs in South Africa also, both white and black chefs. So we inspired with a lot of inspiration from chefs from all over the world. Last week we had a meeting, just before we came here, we met a wonderful lady who is based in England, who was the judge of the British menu and British Bake Off. Prulit. She owns a school in South Africa in St. Kilda. We draw inspiration from people that we never met. So in other words, we're trying to say, young people from Rwanda, they don't have to have met us. If they can just Google or look for Angela Somjaga, they can just look at what we do. You can draw inspiration from people that you've never met. So we are inspiring a lot of young and old chefs all over the world, and we also draw inspiration also from everyone. Everything that I do around the world and in the country also I do with Chef Vakaula Tamai.
In our culture, it's always important to stay true and to stay close home in order to, navigate through life, and we find family ties to be something that is so strong. I don't see a ring on your finger. With all the long hours that you're working, how do you manage to balance having a personal life, having time with your friends and your family, and even nurturing that relationship that I got to see earlier on with your friends?
And colleagues,
how do you manage to navigate that?
It is important that people that are working with you, I do have a family, a wife and three children. In fact, fourth child, and my daughter is 25 years old. And then my son is 12 years, he's turning 13, and my other daughter is 6 years, she's turning 7 very soon. Let's prepare for birthday cakes. And another one, she's just turned 14 months now. So no, I do make time for everything. I juggle around it, I make time, and I also will not be able to achieve these things without their support. So their support is equally important.
Do we see another generation of chefs coming from your offspring?
I hope not.
You hope not? That is not the answer expected.
In fact, people must understand that if you want to be a chef, you must know that you have to love this. This is not an easy industry, but it's not a difficult industry too. We're traveling the world. We are enjoying what we're doing. We are inspiring young and old people all over the world. So I'm saying to you guys, look, and the other important thing that I don't want to forget to mention here is, if you can stay true to your culture and your cultural background, the food that you cook, you ate it growing up, no one can ever cook better because of the palate that you've actually built over years. You know, no one can ever cook it better than you.
All right, it's a beautiful story and an inspirational one from our from our Kigali correspondent Isabel. Thank you for that. Now, at this point, we'd love to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to feature Anne Maura on our segment known as Returning Diaspora. But remember, you could always communicate with us on all our social media platforms at TV47 KE or send a text to the number 22047. Do take us.
Those fun weekends with the baddies, holiday getaways, baby showers, and any other mashup event, we got you back. Welcome to Woodland Resort for comfort and elegance that will ensure your entertainment needs are met. We have a spacious bar area with a round table to maximize on your bonding time with friends. It is stocked with premium, non-premium beers and chilled wines that will get you to cloud 9 as you watch your favorite teams battling out on our well-hinged plasma screens. All this is perfectly crowned and made possible by our caring, always available bartenders to ensure that all your needs are catered for. We can't wait to host you at Woodland Resort. Woodland Resort for comfort and elegance. Located in the outskirts of Kitale Town, Kitale Webuye Road, opposite St. Joseph's Boys Kitale.
Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, living in the diaspora is one thing and coming back is quite another, and can often prove to be a challenge with all the high expectations that come with Anne Maura returning. Diaspora, after living in Florida for about 4 years, here's how she's settling in the country. Take a look.
Yeah. Fine. Yes. Job title. Yes. Experience right here before you left. Yeah. And that's it just for the introduction. All right, cool. Awesome. And the state that you went to and stuff so that we can get you. Oh, okay. All right. I'm Anne Maura. I'm a TV presenter, a radio presenter, and an actress. I actually started acting in the University of Tampa, but before that, I lived in Kenya with my family. I loved it. I mean, I went to school with 66 nationalities. So going to America was new, but it wasn't something I was terrified of. Now you get to the United States. This is a new environment for you, definitely, a new experience and all that. What is the first culture shock experience that you have? Culture shock is a funny thing in America, because everything is bigger in America. From products to, I mean, like I was used to a pack of crisp being this size, and now this is a small, or Coca-Cola, this is a small, now this is a, everything just was bigger, with more options. That was a very big culture shock. The accents as well was a big culture shock, because the first time I sounded different, and I realized a lot of people would call me the black friend, and that was the first time I also realized, oh, I'm black. I think that was a very big culture shock. I never expected. Okay, now, as you all know, relationships are a big part of life. Like you want to meet, you want to have friends. What was the experience making new friends out there? Starting from scratch was difficult making new friends, because one, I left on my mom's birthday by myself. Literally, I packed my own bags, everything, and I was gone. Right, I was gonna go for 4 years. So
So starting to make friends was now so new because there was no Kenyans. There was no Kenyans in my entire university. So I went to 2 different universities. So we had an introduction week where you kind of get thrown in all together and all the new international kids are told to make friends. It took me about like a month to now make the solid friends who I still have today.
Now, in your earlier answer, you mentioned something about the black friend.
Yes.
Is somebody definitely did this as a racist kind of red flag. Did you ever have one word experience racism?
Every day, almost every day. Yes, I had racism was thrown at me almost every single day. I was in the South. I'm in Florida. Racism is just. It's like eating breakfast. It depends on even black people can be racist as well as Indians or any other color, right? So you'd have black people being like, "Why do you act so white?" Or they would say things that are derogatory to you because they feel like it's okay. Whereas white people are just crazy with their racism. Like I was in Walmart once, and I was with my partner at the time who was white, and a woman literally came and started screaming the N-word at me and yelling at my partner saying, "How will your parents allow this? Like, this is wrong. This is not right." Yeah.
All right. Now, it's definitely interesting, right? Food is a big thing. Food is definitely a big thing, and when you change environments, your taste buds have to adapt to the new food. What is the one food that you'd be like, you know what, I'm going to be here for the next 4 years, I'll definitely miss this, and how did you make your taste bud get used to the white people food?
You should probably start with American food. It's like stuck in a plastic bag. An apple tastes the same as meat. Like they all taste the same genre, unless it's real. So if you don't get organic, then you're really just go stuck a plastic bag at this point. The one food I missed when I got to America was anything that was real. That's another culture shock you have. Your stomach has to adjust to. It's very high process. Like you have ads saying, "I can't believe this is real cheese. I can't believe this is real butter." Then you start asking, "But what was it before?" So what is it meant to be? So that was a culture shock of my body changing to that. But the food I miss all the time is this place called Panda Express. So their Asian food, their Asian culture there is really strong. And if you get really good Asian food, it just knocks it out the park. Yeah.
Now, one of the biggest reasons why people relocate is because of better opportunities, better job opportunities to be specific, and you went there to study, and I believe this is one of the reasons you actually sent out there to study, because you folks, I believe that this was a better opportunity for you to survive out here. Tell us about your campus stay, and after finishing school, what was your job hunting experience?
Okay, so I definitely feel a lot of parents think that you come to school here and then you send them abroad and everything's going to get better. I think that creates a bigger problem in Kenya, number one, because you don't have people really wanting to come back. So when we get into the job part, it's going to make sense. So my campus experience was very simple. I could barely work as an international student, and then as an African student, you can barely work. So you literally either have to do jobs under the table, if we're being very honest, like writing papers for people, or some people do exams for people. Some people waitress under the table. So I waitressed. I got very lucky that my boss was an immigrant, so he knew that we can make money. So getting that kind of work ethic in you during university and work and stay makes a huge difference, just having that extra pocket money. Because as fast as it is to make money in America, it's so fast for it to go. Like it's twice as high. And you have people, like I've been saying, I've been working since I was 16, saving since I was 16. I went to 2 different universities, so public and private are 2 different things as well. Public university was 350 people in the class at one time to 400, sometimes even 600 depending. Whereas the private, we had 6 people max. Like that was it. That was all that was allowed. So you could definitely see a big difference in how they catered to where you're going to go in life. So after finishing university, I did a lot of odd jobs, like anything I could get my hands on, online writing, anything I could do. I was like, I'm just going to get this extra little bit of money and just kind of get this experience. And finally, so when I came back to Kenya, I just thought the doors would open. I was like, what? I'm from America. Come on, I've spent 4 years.
Alright, that was our inaugural episode on Returning Diaspora. Now remember, every single week we will be featuring different people who've had the opportunity to go abroad, did whatever they had to do, and actually decided to come back home. So if you'd love to be featured in the segment, always drop us a message on all our social media platforms at Africa, popularly known as Palazzo, suffered a sad fate in South Africa this week when he went there to record his new song. Lucy Riley with more on this story.
Ugandan singer Pius Mayanga, alias Palazzo, is in a critical state after being beaten by xenophobic gangs on Wednesday night in Johannesburg, South Africa. In a live Facebook feed, he said he was attacked by a group of protesters armed with machetes, stones, and sticks. According to sources close to Palazzo, he had gone to South Africa last week to record a video of his new song that he was set to release upon return. Nigerian entrepreneur Basil Onuigbo also has been affected by the xenophobia attacks in South Africa, posing the question on whether or not one should venture their businesses abroad.
They bought the shop on Sunday. Then in the afternoon again, on Sunday, they went upstairs again and put it on. Put another fire again. To see how heartless somebody is. You want this place, it's not enough for you. You still go back again. In the following day evening, burn the place again, put more fire. You understand? Show me the love. Tell me how does love and it goes in there. There's no brother.
Lucy Riley, TV47, Nairobi.
Alright, that was all we had for you on Diaspora Vybez. Remember, this was our first episode, and you could always contribute to the conversation and tell us what you'd love to be featured there. With regards to returning diaspora, as I've told you earlier on, keep on sending the comments and requests for you to be featured, and that is where we stop it. It's a wrap from Diaspora Vybez this week. Remember, this is a tailor-made show for you who is living in the diaspora. Thinking of relocating or having friends and family abroad? Send us your salams to your loved ones, and we will make sure to play them on our Diaspora Salams segment. Remember, you can do that on all our social media platforms at TV47KE across all of them. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, every single one of them. That's all we had for you. Thank you for keeping me company. My name is Alan Will. Until next time, do stay safe.